Hello and welcome back to Saxon Math. This is lesson 87, Finding Unknown Factors. Since lesson 4, we've practiced solving unknown factor problems. In this lesson, we will solve problems in which the unknown factor is a mixed number or a decimal number. Remember that we can find an unknown factor by dividing the product by the known factor. So for example, 5n equals 21. That means 5 times n equals 21. If you are multiplying by 5, you can divide by 5. It's the inverse operation of multiplication. And 5 divided by 5 is 1 over 1, which is the same as 1. So that now becomes 1 times n, and 1 times anything is itself. Because we divided by 5 on this side of the equation, the equal sign, we have to divide by 5 on this side of the equation. So we have now the equation equaling n equals 21 divided by 5. Now we just need to complete the transaction. 21 divided by 5. So 21 divided by 5 is simply 4. And 4 times 5 is 20. Subtract that, we'd have 1 left over. That becomes the numerator, that remainder. And the denominator is this number right here. So n equals 4 1/5. And that would be the final answer to that. We write the answer as a mixed number unless there are decimal numbers in the problem. And in this case, 5 times n and 21, there are no decimal numbers. Example 2, solve 6/10 times m equals 48 thousandths. So again, the same idea. If I need to divide by 6/10 to get m by itself, I end up with 1 here. M is equal to 48 thousandths divided by 6/10. So when I complete that, I have to make sure I start with the decimals in the right position, and I'm going to move them 1 to the right because I need this decimal to be lined up against the wall here. And if I move that one to the right, I have to move this one to the right. So it becomes 48 hundredths divided by 6. So 48 thousandths divided by 6/10 is the same as 48 hundredths divided by 6. So now I just complete that. 6 will not go into 0. 6 will not go into 4. But 6 will go into 48. 6 times 8 equals 48. And I subtract that. I'd end up with nothing left over. M equals 8 hundredths. So again, we find the unknown factor by dividing the product by the known factor. Since there are decimal numbers in the problem, we will write our answer as a decimal number. Example 3, solve 45 equals 4 times x. So again, I need to divide by x to get, by 4 to get x by itself. The unknown factor will be alone on this side of the equation because I also have to divide this side by 4 now. 4 divided by 4 is 1 times x. 45 divided by 4, I can work that out. 45 divided by 4 would be 1. This would be 4. There'd be nothing left over. Bring this down. 5 divided by 4 would be 1. This would be 4. There'd be 1 remaining over 4. So that means x equals 11 1/4. The problem might seem backwards because the multiplication is on the right-hand side. However, an equal sign is not directional. It simply states that the quantities on either side of the sign are equal. In this case, the product is 45 and the known factor is 4. We divide 45 by 4 to find the unknown factor equaling 11 1/4. All right, let's solve these problems. Letter A, 6 times W equals 21. So I need to divide by 6 on this side and divide by 6 on this side. That means W will equal 21 divided by 6. When I work that out, 21 divided by 6 is simply this. 3 times 6 is 18. This would be 3, so that'd be 3 over 6, which is reduced to 3 and 1/2. So W equals 3 and 1/2 for letter A. For letter B, I have 50 equals 3F. This would be divisible by 3. This would be divisible by 3. So for letter B, I have 50 divided by 3 equaling F. So I just need to work that out. 50 divided by 3 would be 1. This would be 3, 2, bring that down. 20 divided by 3 would be 6. That's 18. Subtract that, that would be 2. 2 becomes the numerator, 3 is the denominator. That means that F equals 16 and 2/3 for this one. F equals 16 and 2/3. And the reason why I put that in a mixed number is the same reason I put this one in a mixed number. There are no decimals in that problem. All right, letter C, 5n equals 36. So again, this one, divide by 5 to get n isolated. Divide by 5 because it says it's equal. I have to do the same thing on both sides of the equation. So now I have n equals 36 divided by 5. And I just worked that out. 36 divided by 5 would be 7, which would get me to 35. I'd have one remainder, which becomes the numerator, and the 5 is the denominator. That means that n equals 7 and 1/5 for letter C. N equals 7 and 1/5. All right, and letter D, 3/10 times t equals 24 hundredths. So again, I have to divide by 3/10 on this side so that I can isolate t by itself. I have to do the same thing to the other side of the equation. 3/10 have to be divided. So I'd end up with, for letter D, let me just write that here, I have t now equaling 24 hundredths divided by 3/10. And when I write that out, 24 hundredths divided by 3/10, that looks like this. I move this decimal one place until it runs into the wall. I have to move this decimal also one place since I moved it one there. So this is 2 and 4/10 divided by 3. 2 divided by 3 is 0, but 24 divided by 3 is 8. That means that t equals 8/10 for letter D. T equals 8/10. And letter E, 8 times m equals 3 and 2/10. So I have to divide by 8 here. I'm going to also divide by 8 on this side. So for letter E, I'd end up with m equals 3 and 2/10 divided by 8, because 8 divided by 8 over here on this side becomes 1, and 1 times m is m. Now that I work this problem out, that'd be 3 and 2/10 divided by 8. I don't need to move the decimal, it's a whole number, so I just look at it this way. 3 divided by 8 is not going to work, but the decimal comes straight up in the answer here. 32 divided by 8 would be 4. So now I'm done because 8 times 4 equals 32. And that means that m equals 4/10 for letter E. M equals 4/10. And letter F, the last one. 8/10 equals 5/10 times x. I have to divide by 5/10 on both sides of this equation. This side would eliminate it because 5/10 divided by 5/10 is 1. So what I'm left with is in letter F, I would have 8/10 divided by 5/10 equals x. Now I can work that out. 8/10 is in the numerator there, and that's inside the box. 8/10 divided by 5/10. And I have to move the decimal over one place here to hit the wall. I have to move it over one place on this side. So now I'm left with 8 divided by 5. So I can now figure this out. I'm going to add a couple zeros in there just for a good measure. But 8 divided by 5, 5 will go into 8 one time. 5 times 1 is 5. Subtract that, this would be 3. Bring down the 0. 30 divided by 5 is 6. 6 times 5 is 30. There's nothing left over. This is the final answer. X equals 1 6/10 for letter F. So X equals 1 6/10. And that is it for today in finding unknown factors. Make sure when you're doing your written practice problems 1 through 30, you complete the entire lesson, all the practice problems, written practice problems of that lesson. It has various lessons from previous throughout the year, so make sure you do all of those problems. Excellent work. We'll see you next time.